We will be talking about the origins of Judaism. Let's talk about our keywords. The first keyword is canon, ancient home of the Israelites. Torah, first five books of the Hebrew Bible. Abraham, father or the first of the Jewish people. Monotheism, belief in a single God. Covenant, mutual promise between God and the Jewish people. Moses, according to the Torah, the man that led the Jews out of slavery. Israel, region on the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. Judah, Israelite kingdom in Canaan. Tribute, payment made by a weaker power to be a stronger power. Where did the Israelites claim land? The Israelites made a claim to an important piece of land that was called Canaan. They believed the land had been promised to them by God. This region sat on the eastern edge of the Mediterranean Sea and on the Red Sea, which led to the Indian Ocean. It opened to trade of many lands. Most of what we know, the early history of the Israelites, come from the Torah. The story of the Israelites began in Mesopotamia. There, according to the Torah, God chose a man named Abraham to be the father or the first of the Jewish people. God told Abraham to move his family to Canaan. Abraham promised that he and his people would always obey God. The Israelites were among the world's earliest people to believe in one God or monotheism. God in turn promised to always protect them from their enemies. This was the first of many covenants, promises between God and the Jewish people. If you're wondering who is Moses, when their crops failed, the Israelites moved to Egypt around 1650 BC. Over time, they were forced to become slaves. After many years, they fled. The Jews called this mass department the Exodus. According to Torah, a man named Moses led them out of Egypt between 1300 and 1200 BC. They traveled for 40 years in the wilderness. During that time, the Torah says God gave Moses the Ten Commandments. These were the laws that the Israelites were to follow. For the second time, God promised to protect them in return for their obedience and to his laws. After Moses died, the Israelites finally reached Canaan and settled. They began to adopt new ways of life. They often fought with other people living in the area, as each group tried to control the best land and other resources. The Israelites were organized into 12 groups called tribes. Each tribe was separate from the others, but in times of danger they would unite under leaders called judges. One of those judges was a woman named Deborah. It was unusual for a woman in ancient society to hold such a position. Women usually were expected to stay home and raise their children. The Jews had other leaders called prophets. They said that they were messengers sent by God to tell the people how He wanted them to act. These prophets told the people that they had two duties. The duties were to worship God and to deal in just a fair way with one another. With this message, religion was changing. Instead of it being part of life run by priests, it was now a matter of each person living in a moral life. Who conquered Israel and Judah? Disasters came when both kingdoms lost their independence. Israel and Judah began to pay tribute to Israel. Tribute his money paid by a weaker power to a stronger power to make sure it does not attack. Eventually, the northern kingdom fell to the Israelites. Later, the southern kingdom fell to the Babylonians. Many Jews were forced into exile in Babylon. They lived there for many years during what was known as Babylonian captivity. Then the Babylonians themselves were conquered by the Persian king Cyrus the Great. The new ruler lets 40,000 Jews return home. Here are some interesting facts about Judaism. Jewish followers refer God as Yahweh. People of the Jewish faith attempt to make every aspect of their lives holy in some way. Spiritual leaders of Judaism are called rabbis. Jewish places of worship are called synagogues. The Torah consists of the five books of Moses, Old Testament and Christianity. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless, and Andelante.